Hello and welcome to TMKF Netrunner. I'm Not Yeti, and this is the tournament report for UK Nationals 2024, which is an interesting event because, as well as playing in the event, I was also kind of the lead organizer for this event. I was the one who put in the initial application to host the event around this time last year. I think at UK Nationals 2023. I had a conversation with Paulie, who said that he wouldn't be applying to run it in 2024, and he'd run it like the last however many years. And I was working with at the time like the people who we organized regionals with. So Cobra Bubbles, Dreadmore, and Harmonby were kind of at that time they were the people that I was talking to the most, and we all agreed that collectively we would try and run UK nationals with me kind of taking a lead on a lot of the like prep ahead of time. And I was pretty clear that I wanted to play in the event. And yeah, we'd just like see. I would do as much of the work up front as possible, and then they would do a lot of the work on the day. Um, so we wanted to run the event in Cambridge, and we found a venue in Cambridge that was really nice and fit well. It was a building owned by like Anglia Ruskin University, and they were super okay with us having it for the full weekend. Told us it would pretty much all be fine. Said that like they would provide us with the final confirmation of the venue when their term timetables came out. And I'd like said to people before that I'd received the like won the bid from NSG to host the event, and I'd announced like kind of softly that the event was going to be in Cambridge, which was super exciting. Cambridge, I live in Norwich, which is like very nearby to Cambridge, so felt comfortable about doing that. And then and then after about 6 weeks after we'd confirmed the venue, uh, they emailed me and just said, "Hey, uh, final term booking confirmations come through. Unfortunately, we won't be able to host your event. Best of luck finding somewhere else." I guess it's a university building, and it was like a. I think it can be used for lectures and stuff. So clearly, they've decided that at some point there wasn't much negotiation. Having just a pretty firm no. So and that sent us into a real tiz. Looked all over Cambridge, trying to find another venue. Everything was either too small. There was a lot of places that could host us, but not host for like the 130 people, which was the cap that I wanted for the event. There were maybe ones we could do where it was like 90, but I wanted it to be bigger than previous UK nationals. And there were churches and things that could host us, but they were very clear that like there'd always be like one uh point over the course of the weekend that they couldn't do. So there was one that had like a Saturday afternoon. They had a group in who would want to use the space, and there was one where it was a church, and they were like, "Well, of course you can't have it Sunday morning, but you can have it the rest of the time." And so it was just like a real palaver. And as we were trying to figure it out, we basically got to the point where we decided it had to be in a different city. Um, as we were doing that, I went to the first regional, which Bahram Wu held in Bristol, in a venue called Sparks, which was like this department store, big, open, kind of flat space that had been used. It had been turned into like some kind of community center event space. I wasn't entirely, still not entirely sure. It's got shops down the bottom, um, and it was like massive. Like you could probably fit worlds in there, and the rates were really good. So we applied for that and got that, and announced that we're moving it to Bristol, um, which I was really excited about. The like staff were really good to work with, and it just seemed like the perfect spot. Bristol is like the opposite side of the country from Norwich, where I am. Like Norwich is like kind of in the middle of nowhere, like about as far east as you can go, and Bristol is in like the southwest. So it's like just the width of the country away, basically. Um, but we get Nikki 3.0 and Bahram Wu on board at that point to help. So there's like a team of six of us. At some point, whilst the Cambridge stuff was going awry, Hikai joined the organising team because he's based in Cambridge. So we end up with seven of us essentially working in like kind of the like leaderish role, like head like organizing the event. Um, and then yeah, basically we went to Brindle Mold for the prizing. We got that really sweet Ashen epilogue that I was super happy with, used in like all the branding and everything. Um, he turned that design around in like less than 24 hours, I think, from the commission, the piece which was just big fucking phoenix. He delivered on that in like no time at all. It was really good. Um, I was really worried about the budget for the event. We set the ticket price at £30 per person, which I think is like just slightly more than it had been in previous years, but made the decision not to separately ticket for the Friday event. Because I just was doing like the budgeting on the spreadsheet and stuff, and because it basically it cost us doing the venue hire stuff. Um, the same amount to book it for the Friday as it does to book it for the Saturday. Ticketing separately and having like much fewer people came down and not really knowing how many people would come would have made the budget scary. So we went for that. And about like 5 weeks out, we end up selling the 100th ticket, which I think is like our like our 95th ticket or something, which is like our break even point. Where off of the pricing commission and the venue hire and everything, I've broken even at that point. And then suddenly we sold like 20 more tickets, and that's like 600 quid more. And then we sold a few more. And I end up being like about a grand under budget by the time the weekend rolls around. Um, I have like £1,000 to spend. And in the weeks leading up to it, we thought a lot about commissioning like additional pricing, trying to do it, but the turnarounds and stuff would have been too like sketch. So just decided to like we'll keep this in case of emergencies. If we get to the weekend and we haven't spent all of our money, then we'll buy volunteers a lunch and stuff. Um, and so that was turned out to be a decision that was real good. We had lots of issues with getting the pricing for the NSG Nationals kit for this event. Um, like I can't remember. I applied for it like this time last year, and by mid October, I hadn't heard anything about them just like shipping any of the pricing. And I knew that other events had run and received their pricing, so I was like trying to get an answer from OP about what it was, and just like for a long time didn't really hear much or got a lot of like holding stuff. But as time went on, I think I just got more annoying, asked more questions, and then like they basically I think had to special circumstances sort out our pricing, which they did do for the most part. We got everything on time except for the metal dice, which arrived uh, on the Tuesday after or something the event. And then they also sent us all of the leftover worlds pricing, which was really nice. So we had a bunch of that. We had loads of prizes to give, and I was really happy. Um, all in all, about a week out from the event, I was like very satisfied that it was going to be a really good event. We had like all of the prizing we needed. Some of that stuff didn't turn up, like the playmats for the event turned up on Wednesday morning, Tuesday morning before uh, the tournament on the Friday, and I was like leaving to travel on the Thursday, so it couldn't have come much later and have like actually got to the tournament. But we got there. And so on Tuesday morning, the playmats arrive. Everything's there. I'm like, right, this is all gonna go off. We're like doing well. Um, should be great. And then I get a text message from the venue, and they haven't texted me before. It's all been via email. But I get a text message that says like, "Hello, not Yeti. Are you free for a call?" Which I was like, understandably like worried about. So I get straight on the phone, talk to Marietta, who was the really lovely member of staff who we like spoke to, and she tells me that they've had some builders in doing work on the roof, and they have managed to cut through some kind of water supply and flooded the venue. And it sounds like from what she's saying, they really don't know how long the flooding was going on or how much damage there's been, but it could be really, really bad. Um, and so they're gonna have to like cancel our booking. And I'm very scared and like frustrated and worried, but she is so clearly like upset by the fact that the building she manages is so they're going underwater that like I can't really be angry with her. She sounds like she's having like the worst day. So uh yeah, we go okay, fine. And then she's like, but we do have another venue. It's this. It's called Ashton Court Manor. If you Google Arts Mansion, it will come up. And I Google it and have a look, and I'm like, upon initial investigation, totally convinced that this like won't work at all for us. It's like clearly much smaller than the other space we had, and it's like more divided up. Um, and we've got like 48 hours to sort everything like table bookings, and it's like 3 miles outside of Bristol. Like the original venue was so in the city centre, like literally in the middle of the city centre, that like everyone could get there. Everyone had planned all their stuff around it and was like a perfect venue for so many reasons. But we ended up in the arts mansion. So yeah, I'm like freaking out about this. And I remember having like a call with Kikai where I tell him the situation. I'm just like laughing hysterically. Uh, just like don't know what to do because our venue's underwater. And then like I tell the rest of the organizing team we need to have a call today to talk about some stuff and get on the phone with all of them and say, so venue's flooded, we can't use the space. Tell them about this other space. And then over the course of about an hour, and I'm pretty keen to like keep things focused and on topic and not just like commiserating and panicking. We basically solve a bunch of the issues. Like we can't solve that it's difficult to get to, but we've figured out that you can get there via public transport and like lots of people are driving in and we can do a bit of carpooling or whatever it is we need to do. Like we've figured out most of it. Um, and Bar really like stepped up in terms of he was already handling the stream stuff, but it was just like I'll get some venue sorted, I'll get some food vendors sorted, I'll talk to people, I'll get everything um yeah, everything kind of organized. That end, Nikki 3.0 was the absolute hero of UK Nationals. Like, if you want to thank the organizers of UK Nationals, like, thank Nikki 3.0, who, like, just did a tremendous amount of work, like, lived in Bristol and could get to the venue to, like, pick up the tables, set up all the tables, set up all the tech, talk to the um venue managers, like rig up additional lighting. Just did so much. So yeah, yeah, having those two and like having the team of like 7 or 8 of us that there were was what enabled us to like do the venue switch because like I nominally was like in charge of the whole thing, but had recruited other people initially to like run it on the weekend, like run the thing whilst I was playing. Um, and then Dreadmore Lou was like really really helpful in helping with a lot of the initial like venue scouting and such, but also just like on the day was like able to run everything. Cobra Bubbles, antithetically to me, is like incredibly detail oriented. I'm like uh I don't know. I'm kind of big picture ish. I like to and like was worried about lots of things about how it would impact people. Would people be able to get there? Would they be able to have fun? Whereas Code Bowls was very good for like focusing in on the fine details and like yeah. So we basically like think we can pull it off. And we tell the venue, yeah, we'll switch, and we tell people that we're switching venues, and we kind of like try and pull it off. I think that the venue then they found out the flooding wasn't as bad as like they thought it was, or they managed to repair more of it. And I had a phone call with the venue manager, and she was like, "Yeah, yeah, I think you guys will be absolutely fine if you guys want to return to Sparks after we'd made the announcement that we were changing venue." And I were like, we've already announced our venue change. I don't want to announce a second venue change." She was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure there might be like a bad smell. There might be like a terrible smell in the venue, but apart from that, it'll be absolutely fine." So we decided we were going to stick with the mansion for the event. Um, so yeah, on the Thursday, I get the train down. My partner is coming down because the tournament weekend is my birthday weekend. When I initially put the bid in with NSG and all of that stuff, I decided, oh, like UK Nationals is basically like a big holiday weekend of the year. I think a lot of Netrunner players treat it as this kind of like go away and have a great time thing. And so I was like, oh well, if I'm gonna have a birthday party, I'll just have UK Nats instead. Um, so my partner comes down, as well as Ashbro's partner, and they spend like the weekend in Bristol actually seeing it, and it's really nice. Um, my partner and I we have dinner reserved on the Thursday night, the night we get in, and Barbara and we had put together like this introduction to the city thing, and there was like this kind of vegetarian. I it's not like fine dining, but like upmarket eatery type thing in a container, uh, like whatever those things are called, in a big box basically. And that food was crazy. The restaurant was called Root, and the food was like amazing. We had so food, and like my pudding at the thing was essentially like jam on toast. It was like this slice of brioche that was like this thick, like lightly fried in like butter, with some like sugar, and then with this plum jam that was really sharp and clotted cream on top. I swear to God, it was like the nicest dessert I've ever had, and it was basically jam on toast. It was so good. Um, so I did that on Thursday night. Got to spend time with my partner, which was really nice. That was kind of like my birthday dinner to some extent. Um, and yeah, then we've got a nice Airbnb. The four of us are staying in this one where we didn't do the like EA Sports testing house thing, because like it was my birthday weekend. Um, and yeah, in the morning, Ashbro and I get a taxi up to the venue. There was like this crazy like bakery coffee shop we went to in the morning. Bristol people might know I was talking about it, might know the name of it, but it was like crazy fancy, and like we turned up at like 8 a.m. It opened at 8, and we were there at like 8, and we were like fifth in line. And by the time we were gone, there was like a massive line behind us. Really tasty, like spice buns and stuff. Really good. And then yeah, when Ashbo and I went up to the venue space, um, and got everything set up. I helped get everything set up. Went around and I basically just did like 8 laps of the venue, like making sure, seeing where things were going wrong. The view, like out the front of the building, was just like amazing view over the city, and I was just like getting very excited about how lovely it all was. Printing a bunch of stuff off, like trying to figure out plans because we had like a map of the space for the original venue, so I knew exactly where everything was going and how it'd all be laid out. But for the new venue, it was like a lot of making it up as we went along. Um, if we'd had more time, I think I would have used bits of that space differently. Like the room we ended up just streaming was like quite big and could have been put to better use. I think, as well as some of the other spaces. I think we could have done more with the space we had if we had like seen it and they had a map of it they provide to us and I knew what all the dimensions were and where the plug sockets were and stuff like that. But we just kind of had to get in there and do it. Um, but it all worked out, I think. Um, and then yeah, so get there. We got actually like loads of people turn up early on the Friday morning. Like 20 people turn up, just like volunteering to help set tables up, move chairs around. print things off, cut things out. Um, on the Friday morning, we discover so NSG sent us a big cardboard box of all of the like leftover world pricing, and there's a bunch of stuff in it, and we've got a volunteer to like count everything that was in there, and then they'd also sent us two boxes of COVID-19 face masks, like for people at the event in there. So we're like, fine. On the morning of, Cobra Bubbles picks up one of those COVID boxes to like get the masks and like put them in place, and finds out that one of those two boxes isn't filled with COVID masks. It's filled with cardboard. There's just loads of extra pricing in there. So my partner very sweetly like counts out all of the additional pricing so we can figure out what we've got, and we're able to offer full play sets of the like Borealis Corp Alt Arts at the team event, which is great. And we had like a bunch of other stuff that was really, really nice. Um, so yeah, everything's kind of crazy. Everything's like going well, but yeah, it looks like it's gonna work. I like, yeah, I don't know. It feels slightly mad that we pulled that all off. Um, and yeah, I would have much preferred to be in the original venue, but I would have loved it for it to be in Cambridge. But like at the end of the day, it had a certain something to it. Um, so yeah, to talk about the Netrunner that I played because I was going to play in the event. Um, I know that yeah. So basically, I have never played Shaper in a tournament before. I was playing his. So when I first got into the game about 3 years ago now, it took me about a year to start playing standard. Um, and yeah, for the most part, we were playing. I played criminal for like the first year or so, just like exclusively like red crim, um, and then started playing like the Ashiniko list and the kind of reg Hashiko for a long time. Played a bit of the Banhar Steve, but the only faction that I'd never taken to a tournament was Shaper. Um, and so at a certain point, after Continentals, I decided that oh, actually no, I think it was after Worlds. Um, this Swift. Oh, I don't remember what it was. It was after Cambridge Regionals. So we had a player locally, Cornelius, who made the cut at Cambridge Regionals, having like I'd like never met him before, and he was like a local, had been playing the game for not very long. I think he'd played a bit back in the day, but like was essentially new to the game, and came like fourth at quite a competitive event. I was like, what the hell? I was chatting in the pub afterwards. I was like, so what's this Swift Lat deck then? Um, and he was like, oh yeah, I'm on like two Bravado, two Swift, got some other cards in there. And I was like, wow, okay. This has criminal cards. It's got Bravado in it. I love Bravado. Uh, that I might actually be able to play this Shaper list. Um, and so I took that, played it for a bit, and was liking it quite a lot. Um, and decided to include quite a lot of the choices that Cobra Bubbles had made with his um, Obi-Wan to Kobe list. I really found that like the things that I was losing to were 6 strength ice, and the Kobe solves that. And I kind of like fell in love with playing this deck in like a lot of ways. Obviously, it's just like great fundamentals, good reg stuff, but I really like the little game of using Revolver, either on the turrets installed and Propeller to get your first two Kobe counters and to like get over that point where you're then now in your like commanding position. But the deck has like a plan over the course of the game that you're going to keep installing stuff, and the like your game plan is going to keep evolving in a way that I really liked. And also, depending on your matchup, the speed of your opponent, everything, like what if you skip steps, and if you're how you're going to get there, and like depending on the order that the cards come out, really impacts like how you're gonna do it. Like you have quite a straightforward, like you have quite a linear plan, but you really have to like change how you play it depending on the matchup in a way that I just really liked, really like. Um, and yeah, there are some like interesting choices. I don't think anybody else in EA Sports played the exact same list as me, although I know Cornelius and Ashbo both ended up taking lists that were very similar. For me, there's only two influence in this list that is like movable, and that's the Hannah. Um, I was fully anticipating some amount of like asset ER plus at UK Nats, which ended up being proved right, although I didn't play against any of it. And the Hannah is like very useful for that matchup. Having Hannah and Cups and Chip and stuff is just like really good against the asset R plus lists. And also basically I'm like a very impatient uh or like very aggressive player to some extent. And what I really want to do is I want to get my deep dive off within the first 8 turns and either have already stolen an agenda and just win the game, or I want to turn that into a thing where like I'm deep diving early, gaining 5 points, and now any push that the corp tries to make is like a game losing if they can't pull it off. Um, and so that's how I want to play the game, and that means that having 3 cards that allow me to gain a click isn't good enough. I want 4, and that felt like the right number. I could have played more Pinhole. I actually like think Pinhole is the other most cuttable card in this list. I basically never use it. Um, it can do stuff, especially if you're dealing with Crisium grid. It's quite nice to like Pinhole on archives, trash Crisium on HQ on your deep dive turn. And there are times where it's like useful, but broadly, like the defensive upgrades in the remote, which is what I think of Pinhole as being the tool for, maybe like turn one Rashidas. Their deck is so rich and in clicks and credits that like Managam and Anoetic Void don't do anything. Like, oh, you're gonna Anoetic Void me? Okay, well, I'll like Overclock run it, gaining my click back. Hannah run it, gaining my click back. Pop Hannah, run it 4 more times, or 5 more times, like whatever it needs to be. You like, I've just never been in a spot with this deck where like crashing that upgrade really felt like it made a difference. Um, so yeah, uh, people played no free lunch in that slot as well. Fine, yeah, both of them clear a tag. My one just like proactively helps my win condition in more ways than I think the thing does, and I would find it really hard to start making cuts for like smaller cards. Yeah. Maybe also notable that I'm not playing daily casts anymore. I basically my for a long time I was playing one casts, one telework, and I think that that is probably my ideal version of the listen away. As long as I always draw the telework first and the daily cast second, that happens perfect. It's the exact right distribution. If I draw them the other way around, it's like much less perfect. So I ended up just going to two teleworks. It's the one I want to see first, and I hate seeing the second copy. So yeah, that's basically where we're at. It's super fun. Oh, the muse could be all manner of things. It probably should be a whatever the one that the shaper program that lets you trash uh assets is, but it's like it could be all manner of things, but it's fine. Um, so I was super happy with this. Like, just so confident that this lap was going to do well. Um, yeah, I really felt like I learned a lot about how to play it. I had like a good 2 months of practice on it. It felt like it was favored into everything. This deck's crazy, but you don't need me to tell you that. So at Worlds, nobody played Azmari. Um, nobody played Azmari at Worlds. It was a deck that had been talked about a lot, but like didn't go very far. And we talked about it a lot. And after Worlds, I was like, right, to demonstrate a point, I'm definitely playing Azmari at UK Nats because like opinions on it are low, but we can play it, and I can play it better than these scrubs who played it at Worlds. I feel like I'm favored into with this version of the list. I feel like I'm favored into every matchup with the exception of Lat, and that's fine because nobody is favored into Lat, so we can take that. Um, and so that was my thinking going into the weekend or going in because I'm coming off of Worlds, and I tested it into Lat, and it's not that we're not favored into Lat, it's that we are. It's impossible to take a game off of Lat. Who knows what they're doing? Like it's literally like you can't win. Not that you have like I think the win rate from Worlds was 20% against Lat, whereas Murray, I think that is like inflated by bad Lat players. Because yeah, you can't do it. So a couple of weeks out from the tournament, I decide that I'm going to play this in the team event because it's my favorite corp deck, but we can't play it in the main event, which is very sad. But this is the list I took in the team event. I think I didn't have to register a deck list, and I didn't record which deck I was playing, but I'm pretty sure it was this version, which has I stand by the Virus and Wraparounds to deal with the all of the Anarch matchups, and the Rotor Turret's really good for the kit matchup, and just like anything that's trying to be fair. Um, oh, the wraparounds and the Mavarus also good for the Krem matchups. That's just like all of this is really good, but you can't beat that. We tried. Cornelius ended up taking a version of Azmari to UK Nats that played Piranhas and Srevna again. Felt like that had more game into Lat. Because you could deny hand size a lot more easily. But I don't know. I don't know about that. Yeah, so I'm not playing the Azmari list. At that point, Kikai was working on an ob list that was playing MCA, Basalt Spire, and the Hollow Man. Try and score out the Basalt Spire and then fast advance the rest of your points. And it just looked fun and it appealed to me and the stuff that I was playing this time last year. Like I played a lot of ob in 2023 and I hadn't played any ob in 2024. So I really wanted, who I just like getting fed up with the Azmari. I was just like, right, I don't have enough time to learn how to play as a group or anything like that. And I don't have an R plus list. Like I tried the BCPs and I tried the um kill plans, and I was like, I don't believe that either of these like wins against a Lat player who has reps into it, or at least not with my decision making at this point. This ob deck seems fun, and it seems like my cup of tea, so I'm gonna play it. And it was fun as hell. It was really fun. And then we had a version in the middle that had original version had Atlas. We took those out to play as Fs, and we put in a powers that be. And that version of the deck was so fun. And then as we tested the lat matchup, like we had we had game into the lat, we could win those matchups. If you were able to like do enough of your skateboard tricks and because you can replace one program with another, one type of ice with another. Um, we could get there and we could hit stuff with Azef and whatever. Um, but yeah, basically, the version that I ended up taking ended up including some of these advanceable ice cards. So we've got Wall to Wall, Tree Line, and Logjam in there to essentially help against the lap matchup and try and make it quite expensive to deal with. I expected most people to be on Cleaver Turbine, and so anything that's like a bit more expensive than that is really good. Ultimately, I think the Logjam is a trap, but the tree lines are just good enough because they're good into Propeller as well. The Wall to Wall's really boring, and you shouldn't be ever relying on doing that in a game. And yeah, otherwise, I think that this is mostly fine. Yeah, or I'll talk through the games I played of this in a little bit, but broadly, I actually we were halfway through iterating on this, and I was this close to going back to a previous version of the list that I much preferred. When the venue flooded, When the venue flooded, I stopped thinking about this corp list altogether for all of the time up until the morning of the main event. At which point I looked over at the pile of cards I had and I went, I guess we're playing these. And because I like built this, chucked it in a box, brought it to UK Nationals or brought it to Bristol with a bunch of like other cards I might swap in, and then basically just didn't do any of it. Um, I think I could have done a lot better uh, on the corp side uh, if I had been thinking about playing in the last 24 hours, but hey ho. I remember um, talking uh, with someone like a couple of months. I was talking with Ed from NSG a couple of months ago when I was first talking about running the UK Nationals and playing in it. Um, and he said he works in catering. I think he's like a head chef or something. And he was like, "Yeah, if I was opening a new restaurant, I can't think of anywhere I'd hate to be more than sat waiting to be served food on opening night. Like you're gonna want to be back there. You're gonna want to be fixing issues, blah blah." And I actually think like it ended up being the total opposite, where I really wish like if things had just gone a little more smoothly, I actually would have like loved playing in the event even more. But I had a super great time playing. Um, yeah, we're half an hour or so in. Let's talk about the games. Most of the focus of this is the stuff at the start, the like 20 minutes of behind the scenes, I guess. Um, I will go through the games, but I won't go through them in as much detail as I normally do. So as we're driving up to the venue on the Saturday morning, there are so many runners. And I don't mean net runners, I mean fun runners. There are people, they've turned up, they're here for like a park run, like there's a jog around the park or something, but there are hundreds of them, and the car park is full. And so I'm immediately in panic mode. I'm running around trying to get that sort of trying to make sure that we can use the staff parking for Netrunner players, that we can get stuff printed off and make sure we find out who's fixed seating and going around and doing all of that. And in the team event, I managed to bring both of the decks that I brought were illegal. I managed to forget my Azmari ID, and I managed to forget my compilation from my Lat deck. So, um, but got all of those sorted without getting a game loss. The Lat went 4-0 in the team event. The Azmari went 1-3. Um, I can't remember who it's one who its win was against. A couple of almost all of those games were close. The ones that it lost, but it lost a lot of games. Two of which were against Lat, as I fully expected. Um, and yeah, there was a funny moment. A wild Turtok and I met at Continentals in Italy earlier in the year and chatted a lot. He's a player from Berlin. Um, and that was the event where we brought the Azmari deck for the first time, and were keeping it secret. And he and I on the Friday were talking. I think we might have played each other in the team event. We were talking, and I said like, "Yeah, well, we're playing R plus tomorrow because blah blah." Blah. When secretly we were actually playing Azmari, and I was just lying to him because I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag. Um, And then at this event on the Friday, I said, "Well, I'm playing the Asmari in the main event because blah blah blah." So I didn't want everyone to know that I was playing the Ob, although I think it'd been pretty thoroughly scouted. We didn't try to hide that in advance. But he was very, it was very funny when on the Saturday he found out I was playing Ob, and he said I was a compulsive liar, which really, really made me laugh. But yeah, so let's talk about the games. Uh, of the main event. So round one, I get paired up against Swifty, who I can't remember if I played before, maybe once or twice in tournament. Um, Turn one of the game, I run like Dirty Laundry archives and R&D and C and SDS on the top, and I get to do a fun install Muse to fetch SMC, overclock run, pop, fetch my breakers, crash the Muse to SDS line, which was really cute. There was a moment in the near the middle of the game where he was like starting to get his momentum back, and it could have got away from me, but I just sent the deep dive off and won the game. Um, and so that was a like nice, comfy lat does lat things for the first game. The goal for this tournament is basically to go 5-0 on lat and to go like 3-2 or maybe like 2-1 or like sorry 2-3 on the um warp deck. Like I really just feel comfortable that I'm going to win all my runner games, and I need to win as many of my court games as I can. Um, we take the ones that aren't against lat basically. So winning the first game of the day, it's going according to plan. Round two, I play against Ace Empress, who is one of my like favorite Netrunner players. We've played against each other in tournament quite a bit, and I think she makes really fun decks. She's really lovely and just like fun to play against and a good friend. So like very happy round two to get paired up. Um, she's playing the girls deck out of Kiko. That's kind of one of the things that she's known for. Um, and I managed to set up a very like a turn one. I think I just put tree line on R&D, and I just know that like that's gonna hold basically for the entire game. I managed to ice up all of my servers pretty well and make it incredibly difficult for her to get any kind of valuable accesses over the course of the game. But whilst her deck is on the opposite side of the table, ace-hopping things and printing money, my deck is just like refusing to give me money. And the main reason for that is that for almost the entire game, I have 5 agendas in hand and I do not draw a spin dot to clear them out all game. So I'm just sat there like I can't push because she's set up well enough that she can test the remote probably. Um, and I managed to like sneak out 2 points. She gets a couple of accesses. At one point, she gets the copulation down, and it's basically the case that if she ever sweeps HQ with copulation, she's guaranteed to steal like 7 points minimum. And I'm just praying that she doesn't. Um, and so basically we get near the end of that game and she's because she's a key coach just tunneling R&D, just trying to find agendas on R&D. And we get near to time and I end up install advancing an SDS on the table behind some ice, but it's something that I don't think she can get to. She's looking over it and she knows that if it's a 2 pointer I can't like win. I will lose the game. So lets me have it, tries an R&D, misses, and I'm able to advance, audacity, score the SDS for the draw. A hard fought draw, but we do get there. I think I have a judge call in that one because I screwed something up, but it was fixable. Um, so I mean, draw as of I guess that's as good as we're hoping for. It wasn't a lap matchup, so we were hoping to win, but Shaper is just scary, all around. Um, Round three, I get paired up against Nikki 3.0, who is like the person in like who I think will did the most work to bring about the tournament. So very funny that we're both playing in the event. And they are yeah, basically we played in 3 different regionals, I think, or we played like 3 times during regionals on me on Anarch and Criminal, and they were always playing Acer group. Um, and I'd won all of those games, but like Banha into Asa is like a very different kettle of fish. Of Lat into Asa, it's probably like Lat's hardest matchup. Um, so yeah, basically it looks like jukebox ish to me. I think it's probably mostly their own brew, but it's the good stuff you'd expect. And they just get the nuts draw. Like they go crazy with it. I'm able to copulation a fully operational like fairly early on. After they've just got Vitruvius counter, and I'm like, right, get this fully op out of the way. We'll stop the value. There's just a second fully op in hand, so we just do all of that, recur it with Vitruvius, play it. Scores out to scores to 4, I think. And it's just like value out of the wazoo. At some point, I think has like 5 iced remotes and is able to fully op for 6 triggers. And it turns out that this is their downfall. Is basically they're so dominant, or like so that explain itself so well, but they're not getting the tools to score. They're just getting the tools to be like rich as hell, or maybe they slightly greed it. That it gives me just enough time to get in deep dive and win the game, and like just enough time. I don't think like I think they probably could have pivoted to scoring earlier. I don't know, but yeah, I was kind of grateful because it looked just like nuts acid draw to me. Um, so yeah, clean sheet against Nikki so far. We're gonna have to play even more, but yeah. Round 4, I get played up against Kaku Rainbow, um, and I'm playing Ob. He's playing Kit, and I start off and I'm just like, I know how to play against Kit. I'm gonna stack my barriers. I've got all barriers. It's fine. And somewhere pretty early on in the game, he installs SMC on the table, and I'm like, okay, we're not playing Spark Kit. What are we playing? And I was like, we're probably playing Hypermantle Kit. I can't remember what else I'd seen. I might have seen like an Into the Depths or something, but I was like, okay, this seems like Hypermantle to me. I think I can just go fast enough. I managed to like SDS that SMC, which did just like help with tempo quite a lot, I think. Um, and yeah, so we're going. We're yeah, I managed to like uh set up the. But I'm just doing a good job of scoring, keeping them behind. They're like playing it slower than they would like, I suspect. Um, and then at some point, I have a Physical Excavator, trash a sandstone or something, fetch Thimble Rig. Because they've installed Inversificator. And then I call the judge. Judge, how do the timing triggers work between Inversificator and Thimble Rig? So both of them get to move the ice, and it's the runner's turn. So he gets to move the ice, and then I get to swap Thimble Rig with another piece of ice. And the judge like reads both cards, does some thinking. Yep, that's correct. I don't think I lead the judge to that, but that's the ruling they come up is what I expected, which is basically like, would you like to win the game? Because they're just gonna try and like walk that piece of ice through. Thimble Rig just like totally ruins all of it, basically. I think so. From there, I was able to just win. Good. So I'm 3-0-1 at lunchtime, which was good. We have like bar around we managed to get food trucks for the event, which I just like totally didn't believe would happen. And it's like these like gyros trucks, and all that is exactly the food I need at lunchtime on like a busy day. It was so nice. And like I just got to skip the line every time over the course of the weekend because I would find somebody I know in the line, go, A, it's my birthday, B, I organised this tournament, C, can you buy me lunch? And they did every time, which is very nice. Um, and I didn't have to queue for the food, which was good because there was a massive queue. We had to like, I think it was if the food truck didn't make 500 quid each day, we would have had to like pay the difference so that they got 500 quid. And I was really worried about that because we didn't have the budget to cover like if nobody bought food on either day and we owed them £1,000, like we couldn't afford that. And we were spending money on other stuff and like probably couldn't afford like to go to pay too much. Um and I think they made their money back like twice over. They made like £1,000 a day because that line was crazy. Um and the food was good. It was really nice. Um yeah, after lunch we come back. I get paired against Hemra, who I think is an Oxford player. Um and he is playing PE. And so I'm kind of expecting it to be loud. It might have been loud. I'm not entirely sure. Um, the game, I think it's got mitosis So maybe I can't quite remember. Um, but the game goes to time. The game goes on forever. There are three spin doctors that are all used to clear up agendas. I never see a Fuji. I get to 3 points when we're really close to time. He's on 3 points as well, uh, and looks up at the timer. There are 2 seconds left on the round, and he pops false lead to end my turn. Like I do some stuff on my turn. I have 2 clicks left. I go any action. He's thinking for a second, looks at the clock. 2 seconds left on the clock, and he says, "Yes, false lead, your turn." And I said, "End my turn," and then he started his. Then time is called. He plays out his turn, and he scores a Fuji that was on the table, going to 5 points. I'm on three. So I have 2 cards in hand, and I say, "GG, well done, you scored out." Fill in the slip, tie up the table, walk away, and then I remember that I was supposed to take another turn. Because he deliberately popped the false lead with 2 seconds left on my turn and we passed. I should have had like a whole extra turn. And if there was any uncertainty about it, we should have called a judge, but I'm like very confident that I should have taken that turn. But in the panic of it, because it was so tight for time, neither one of us, we both just were like, yeah, game over. Whereas I could have run, and if I'd stolen a Fuji on that final turn, I win the game. But instead, I lose that game, and it's like totally on me, not on him. And he played it really well. I think we both played quite a good game. I think I win that game like 9 times out of 10 if it was like not in timed conditions. And losing to Jinteki P on time is really frustrating. But like if you lose to PE turn one, that's on you. If you lose to PE on time, that's probably like some deck building crimes have been committed. IMO. But I really liked Hamra. He didn't get to eat his food until after we finished playing. He had was in the last of the queue at lunch, so literally like his food was stone cold by the end. And he was really nice. Um, but that's our first loss, which is fine. We can only really afford to lose one more game over the course of the day, um, because we've got that draw. But we're okay. I think we can maybe do it. Round six, we play against Geometrics. He is playing Seb, and this game is on stream, so you can go watch it. I won't go into too much detail, but it's on Baramu's channel. Or there'll be like a link at the end of this, probably, maybe in the comments or in the description. And that game's wild. I opened with like a Crisium on HQ turn one because I knew that Seb plays Hot Pursuit, and thought I was denying that. And then every privileged access that got played that game, I wished that I had Crisiumed Archives. He was playing like Imp and stuff, so I think it maybe doesn't matter. But I've got 3 Mavirus, and the 3 Mavirus basically carried me to the win. Um, Stopped me from losing that one, which was nice. Yeah, felt it was really tight, and I got the audacity for the win out at the end. But yeah, it was a really fun game. Um, and if I had more practice in the matchup, I feel like I'd have done better. I think probably everybody who played against Seb that weekend probably said that. Um, so yeah, beat Geometrics round 7. Get paired up against Augustus Caesar, who is playing Swift Lat. I don't think I win this game. Like I had Naf draw, and if I have Naf draw, I'm just like never gonna win. If I come out the gates hot on this one, or he fumbles a bit, then maybe I had it, but it looked like his deck just sang for him, and mine was like a little bad, and Lat beats everything. So, yeah, I don't think we had odds in that game. Um, Around about this time in the afternoon, um, it was no, so it was just after I think my game on stream. So just after my game against Geometrics. Um, Ollie, who's an EA Sports player, comes up to me and goes, Yeti, they need you in the other room. And because I've been like helping out and solving stuff throughout the course of the day, I'm like, yeah, sure. Who is it? What do they need? And he goes like, oh, You'll see, which like screams to me of they're doing some horrible birthday related either celebration or prank or something, and I was petrified that they were going to do something on stream. The whole thing was going to be like on stream, but no. They got me like a Colin the Caterpillar cake, and it was all very nice. And they sang Happy Birthday, which was dreadful. Uh, it particularly funny because in the morning, Fridan had come up to me like first thing and gone like, "By the way, mate, we got you these cakes," and I was like, "Oh, brilliant, thanks." And I think it was totally meant as a surprise, but he just forgot or whatever and gave that to me. So um, that was very sweet. It was nice to spend the kind of weekend with EA Sports, but that moment was very funny. Um, Speaking of EA Sports, round 8, I get paired up against Tanzan, who is basically like my oldest friend in Netrunner for sure. I've known him since I was probably about 10 or 11 or something. Maybe later on, maybe like 12, 13. Um, where my grandparents, he lived in the town that my grandparents lived in. Uh, they sent me round to his house because we'd both played Magic the Gathering. We both had mentioned Magic the Gathering cards uh, to the older generations. So they were like, right, they'll be friends. Sent us around, and we were friends. We played some Magic, and yeah, then went to. So I got to play him. He doesn't get a lot of time to practice Netrunner, but he did really, really well in this tournament, and he was doing really well at this point. So, really happy to play against him. He was playing Curse's Sports Metal list, which I have a lot of practice into and feel quite good at playing against. Um, and so, yeah, pretty resounding Lat victory at this point, um, which is good. I mean, we had the one Lat loss against P, and a Lat loss was not in the plan. We did not plan for this, which means that we now have to like win a majority of our ob games. The draws making this scary, so it's like a bit sketch. At this point, we can't afford to lose another game because we lost to Augustus, and there's 2 rounds left, so I have to win both of these games in order to make the cut. I get paired up against Test Running, who I think is a NWE player who's playing Esser. Esser is like the worst matchup for the Ob deck. I think like Begemot just eats us alive. There are things we can do. Thimblerig has play, uh, and we were practicing against Dabs131, who's like a very good Esser player, and like I was able to take games off of him, but uh, I basically sat down and I could not remember what we'd agreed. Like when testing, here are the things you're supposed to do against Esser, and I could not for the life of me Imran, I think what they were, and then and so sat down and I played like a pretty good game. I think I got pretty unlucky, like early rips off of centrals, which this deck for the most part doesn't have. So the agenda suite. Let me bring it back up. The agenda suite for the Ob is actually the bit that I think is like the one improvement in this list over um, some of the other facet decks that came before. Is actually I was rereading some of the write up that Tuno had done, and they it kind of like suggests something to these effect, which is essentially these atlases should be as Fs, but instead of playing 3 eminent, we play a slash and burn. And what this gives us is essentially we're only playing 9 agendas. If they steal an eminent, um, it like basically means that they can't that almost never helps them to win the game because it means stealing 3 other agendas or 2 SDS, and you're way more likely to like the way that you win in 3 steals is 2 of your 3/2s and an SDS. Um, so like the eminence become kind of, you don't mind if they get stolen. Um, and yeah, we're not doing any. We can't reliably do the archer stuff, but against Crew Hosh or against any Anarch basically, um, or against Revolver, it like probably wasn't that essential a strategy anyway. So yeah, basically, I like playing 9 agendas. I like the slash and burn, which is wonderful, and I like the one eminent. I'd play SDS and as if I was trying to win stuff. I'd play Basalt and as if I was trying to have fun. Yeah, basically, um, it's really hard for Essa, I think, to just get sick rips off the top because there's only 4 or 5 agendas that are actually like Essa can actually steal that easily early on because it can't steal SDS that well. But we steal like 3 agendas in the first little bit, and get to the point where I'm like ready. I think I'm like 1 turn away from winning. I think I had the audacity in hand, maybe not the agenda to win, but I was pretty close to getting there, but just missed in the test running game. So that's me out of contention for the cup, which is a bit of a shame. And but I was tired going into round 9. I think realistically, running the tournament and playing in the tournament is very difficult, and you if you want to be well rested, focused, and prepared, you shouldn't try and TO the tournament that you're playing in. If you're like, you can TO the tournament and play, but I don't know if you can TO the tournament and cut. That's kind of my feeling. So yeah, I'm not actually that sad. At this point, the tournament's gone off without a hitch. I did really well. Like, I didn't win, but I did really well. And I've had such a lovely time. It's just been so good. It's my birthday. Shout out to all my friends. It was just great. Felt wonderful. So we're out of the cup, but we feel brilliant. My last round, I get paired up against Koga, who I chatted to Koga a bunch in Italy for Continentals. I really like Koga, really funny guy, really good player, really nice. Uh, and I sit down and like I'm so like tired, and because the cut contention's gone, my adrenaline levels have just dropped. I've got no energy for any of this shit. So I just like turn 1 or 2, like last click run into some ice that gives me a tag, or like I face check a starlet or something. There's a turn in the game where I SMC for revolver, install the revolver, and then realize that I don't have credits to break Starlit Knight and take 2 tags. And then I think yeah, it was terrible. I should have like conceded on like turn 2 or 3 when I started making like grievous mistakes, but I just kept playing. And by the end, I think I had like 16 tags or something insane. It was like 14 or 16 tags. But Koga just like for some reason couldn't win because I could still get into the remote server. So and he like had discarded his shipment from Vlad really early. So it's just, and I was like, I maybe had a line to win that if I like was more intelligent and like had cut something out of archives and managed to get a run on HQ. But by the end, it was 2 full revolvers to get through a Starlit Knight. So like, um, so I lose that game just about. He's playing the Azmari BCP deck, which I think is actually really cute, and I want to look into. And that seemed pretty good. Yeah, basically the last game is like I should have conceded. It was not a real game. I wasn't really playing. But I really like Hoka. The real shame of that last game was that I was too tired to have good banter about it. If I was like making play mistakes but having a great time laughing and joking with Koga, it would be great. But I think I was making play mistakes and just looked a bit tired and miserable, and he was like felt sorry for me. But yeah, I really like Koga, and that was fun. It was fun even if I was like not physically, not mentally there. So yeah, basically, that was the end of the tournament, or like the main bit. We had like Cobra Bubbles did the announcements for the top 16, where he like shout out everybody who made top 16, and that was like some of the most fun in the whole weekend. It was like hype. Everyone was excited. People were cheering for their friends. Three people from EA Sports made the cut. None of them were from East Anglia. um, David, Dabs131, made the cut. Unsurprised. He's really, really good. Um, Cornelius, who is like pretty new to the game and was playing the Azmari, made the cut, which is incredibly hype. I really, really like him. We've been playing together like a lot since regionals, and I was like so stoked and incredibly jealous that he managed to make the cut on the Azmari. Um, and then Oko, who's like the newest member of EA Sports, another French player who Dabs knows, made the cut playing Atea, just like killing lats all day by sniping the deep dives out of hand and rezzing 15 strength surveyors or something. And so that was really, really hyped. I was so happy for all three of them. And yeah, it was just like uh, super cool. Um, a bunch of us, Tanzin, Kami, Ashbo, Davs and Oko, all came back to our Airbnb where we got a vegan Chinese takeaway, which is a tradition that's holding over from Sheffield, UK Nats, where there's this gorgeous uh, vegan Chinese takeaway near where we book our Airbnb. Um, and yeah, and like we all sat around, we talked about our games, we chatted. Um, Ashburn and his partner had bought me like another slice of cake, which was super tasty and had all the candles in it and stuff. And just like a really sweet, sick way to end out the main event. I kind of like love the Saturday night after the main event, and it was just a really lovely like celebration. So yeah, I just had a wonderful time. On Sunday, I end up like being the person who's like running things in the main room, like doing starting timers, doing the announcements, the stuff that Cobra Bubbles had been doing really well on the Saturday because he is like a thorough and prepared individual who is, as I said, very detail oriented and like knows how to like make all that stuff really great. I am not like that, and they will run way sloppier, much messier. But like I think, I think people mostly had a good time and didn't worry too much about the fact that sometimes I missed a time call on the side events. I am really sorry if that was a problem. But I think it was really fun. I just chatted to one of my mates. It was really nice. Um, Eventually got the stream set up in the main room. I love like watching the stream like with other people. Is my favorite bit. It was when we started prepping for this. Was one of the things that I like really had on the agenda was like I wanted it to be in a space that we didn't share with another event because at Patriot there's always like Friday there's always like Magic the Gathering players and Yu-Gi-Oh players and stuff in the room, and I have like uh I struggle with like loud over stimulating sensory stuff, um and so for me like the quality of life of it all being Netrunner in one room is big, and so that was one of the things I wanted. But being able to watch the stream was like the other thing I wanted, and we got that, and I was very happy. Um, yeah, I got to do the big announcement thing for Theo when he won the event, and he like came through, and he was like so he was so jazzed. He was pulling poses, he was doing that. You could tell that he was like top of the world. It was very funny. Um, on like the Sunday evening or like Sunday afternoon, I was like trying to get. I went to go out for dinner with like whoever was around because I knew a bunch of the EA Sports people were leaving, but I figured like a bunch of people would be staying over, and it would just be nice to like go out and like um. But I kind of didn't expect people to come on the Friday night. We'd like booked out this bar for like my birthday party, um, and like a bunch of people came to that, but like everyone left by 10, and it was all very civilized, um, and uh, and that was really nice. Actually, loads of people came to that. I can't believe I missed that whilst doing the recap earlier. But yeah, on the Sunday I was like going around and booked this table at this Indian restaurant, and we did like a rough count, and there was like 15 people who'd said yes, and then I kept inviting more people. more people to come because that's what you do. You want to see your friends. You don't want anyone to be excluded. Um, and in the end, we had like 20 people say yes, and I was like talking to Ashbo who made the booking, and he was like, "We're screwed. They're never gonna they're never gonna honor our booking for 15 when 20 of us turn up." And I was like, "Yeah, it'll work out." And anyway, some people will flake. Like some people won't turn up. And ended up like 21 people came, and they did make it work, and it was all very nice. Food was actually really nice. Um, and then we went to the pub afterwards, and like everyone came to the pub, and we had like a sick time. It was really nice, and it was just like I don't know. For me, so much of the weekend is about wanting to like hang out with people, and do all that stuff. And whilst there is no commune in Bristol, which is the traditional UK Nats like hangout spot, it felt like we really made like saw loads of Bristol. It's just a lovely city, and like just got to have a great time. Um, yeah, super duper super fun. And then yeah, Monday got the train home. Played Classique on the train with Cobra Bubbles, which was very fun. Um, yeah, the that Gagarin Adam matchup should be like frogs from existence, I think. But hey, uh, it was super fun. We had a good time. Um, and yeah, that's basically everything. Yeah, if people want to talk about TOing it, if people want to get involved in doing OP stuff in the UK next year, please reach out. Like, be super fun. We've got plans in place for Mega City in the UK next year and for regionals. So hopefully there'll be some fun announcements. Just gotta wait for NSG to confirm their end of stuff. And yeah, um, thank you very much for watching. And yeah, everything. Bye.